Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. It's Mr. D at In the Middle with Mr. D1 at blogspot.com. I made a vow in my third year teaching to share everything I had learned one day somehow, and that's what we're doing here tonight because I felt like a terrible failure in my first year, and I didn't know if I was going to make it. And I did. So here we are. It was before Facebook, YouTube, or any of that stuff. And I'm thankful you're here, and we're here to help you and guide you. The structure of this will be the guest and I will talk for a while in the beginning, and you can put your questions in the chat. Anything that you have, anything that you want guidance with, we'll do our best. And any teacher who's in the room can also share what they would do. And you're welcome to be on camera, off camera, whatever is comfortable for you. And then you can also ask the questions live at the end. So I'm going to go through some announcements before I announce our special guest tonight. Make sure that you're on my email list for future events. Write subscribe in the subject line and email me at inthemiddlewithmrd@gmail.com. So some upcoming events are happening on June 27th and July 27th. On June 27th, I'm hosting an S-Cubed question and answer session. I need 3 types of teachers to attend that. Teachers who are thinking about using the program, teachers who've bought it but have struggled to implement the program and want some guidance, and I want expert longtime users of the program so that we can all work together to help those folks get it worked out. On July 27th at 8 p.m., I'm hosting a middle school teacher that you may have never heard of. She's one of the most amazing middle school teachers I've ever seen, seriously. I was adjudicating an out-of-state event and I was blown away. So I'm going to start sharing that information on Facebook and other platforms after July 4th. So you can watch this teacher's work. And then we're all going to gather here July 27th, hopefully, and learn from her because it really is, it's amazing. I can't tell you enough. So whenever I do Zoom events and Facebook Live over the last 10 years, I offer something free in my TPT store, and I offer a discount on something that lasts for 2 hours. Until 10, tonight's free lesson is classroom management presentation that I did a while back in Iowa that is unlisted on YouTube. And there's a QR code for that, which I need to share real quick with you, and you can take a video of it if you want. Let me get that shared. My desktop is a mess. Where is it? Here it is. No, yeah, there. Oh, I can't find it. Anyway, there it is. All right, so share that or do your phone. My whole TPT store is 20% off till midnight. In addition, I marked down the new Google Slides version of the program 50%. So with that additional 20% off, it's $132.84 until 10 p.m. And after 10 p.m., it's 20% off of that price. All right, so let's get to why we're here, which is Greg Gilpin. So hopefully you've gotten your picture done, and let me stop sharing. Okay. We all know who he is. We're here because of him. He's led performances at Carnegie Hall and Lincoln Center, as well as Ryman Auditorium in Nashville, Tennessee. His international appearances include the Sydney Opera House in Sydney, Australia. He has had performances at Royal Festival Hall in London, Harpa Concert in Reykjavik. He's a producer, musician in the recording industry, and director of educational choral publications for Shawnee Press. In 2020, he made a pandemic pivot. It took him down a new career path. He became a certified financial coach and a certified boss organizer, which I love. I want to see his house. Creating his own professional organizing business, Maestro Organizing. That work has led to appearances on Fox and NBC network affiliates. Mr. Gilpin can also be seen on the TV show Hoarders alongside Dorothy Brenninger, I hope I said it right, renowned producer and organizer. So Greg, get on camera, let's see ya, and can't wait, and I know they're waiting for you as well. Are you there?
I cannot get on. It says that the host has stopped my camera.
Okay, I gotcha.
There we go.
Yay! All right, welcome
Hey,
here.
everybody. Hey,
Yeah.
people showed up. How fun.
We never know. We don't know. I mean, some people always do. And I really appreciate you being here. I love your arrangements. I can't tell you the number of times I've been at a concert somewhere and heard a song, and I look up who did it, and it's you, and I'm like, that's another hit. It's crazy how you know the middle school children and more. You know so much more. I want to start with a story though, and I have not told him. We met before, but I didn't tell him what the story was because I just wanted it to be authentic and real. And here we go. So in 2013, I started sharing S cubed on TPT. And you know, people didn't know anything about my work or anything, but I had had that program in me for years before that. I mean, like a decade, more than a decade. And I was going to conventions and sharing it. I was doing it in district workshops, sharing it with teachers, but it didn't have a name, didn't know what it was doing. And in 2009, I put together this kind of draft of what it would be, and I sent it to a lot of people that I admired, like you. And you answered my email. And I couldn't believe it. I'm like, wait, answered my email. And you not only answered it, but you looked at my stuff and you helped me. You put it in front of a few others, and it didn't work, and that's fine. But that was the only way that I knew that I should keep going, you know, with it and try to get it into the hands of people. So it found its way. The universe did what it does, and I just want to say out loud that was the moment that I knew the human that you are and the educator that you are, and that's why you are who you are. So,
Oh.
um, thank you.
Well, thank you. And it's like all the teachers here, you never know. You kind of just be, who you are. And as an editor, I want to communicate, as much as I can about things. And when I began as a writer, arranger, I had really good editors that, that helped me, that mentored me and said, look, you can do this, but here's, I'm going to help you. And
Yeah,
I try to be that person,
yeah.
as well.
Well, you are, and that's why. I mean, especially in our let me mute for a second. In our profession and many others, I think a lot of times we tear each other down, right? And I knew from that interaction that you were not that person. That you were somebody who was ready to lift everybody. And you know, during the pandemic, it got so rough. People were tearing each other down, and all the social media, and they were just trying to cope the best way that they could, as we all were. But it's so good to know that, like tonight and here, we're all here to support each other and help each other, and that's why we're doing what we're doing. I want to ask you, because I have some communication. Obviously, we prepare for these. I want to know what your university situation was like, and what choices you made that helped you to make all the difference in your career, and why you're here.
Unmute. Is there
Yeah.
a noise with me? I don't hear it now. That's good. Uh-oh. Everybody else is muted. All right.
No, it's okay.
There
It's
you go.
just, don't worry. We're
Okay,
good.
good.
It's just that when you and I are not muted, that noise begins. And so I,
Oh,
it's
okay.
you or me. So I gotcha.
Okay. I heard crickets. That's what I thought it was. All right. I am from Missouri. I grew up in a really, really small town. I had 28 in my graduating class. Everybody played in band. Everybody was in choir. We had really good music teachers. And I was going to be an archaeologist. I was going to be a geologist. I was going to be an architect. Nothing with music because I was playing piano before I could read, which is actually not saying much these days because, kids are reading at 3. But I was playing about 4 or 5 years old, uh, taking lessons. I played at church. I directed a church choir from when I was in junior high all the way to when I went to high school. I mean, through high school. And my brother was a music teacher. My sister-in-law was my music teacher. I mean, it was just, that all the time. And I was surrounded by music teachers because they all had music teacher friends. So I didn't really want to do that, although I loved it. But when I went to college, I discovered, oh my God, I'm a teacher. You know, I just love teaching. And when I was writing, I was in everything in college. I went to Northwest Missouri State. We got to do everything. I was in barbershop. I was in show choir. I was in madrigals. I was in concert choir. We had opera study. I got to do everything and I got to write. One of my teachers let me arrange for the show choir. And I highly recommend that if you have any little wanting to be arrangers, let them do it and let them hear it when a choir sings, because it's very, you learn. And I was doing that, and they actually performed my arrangements. And all those guys make fun of me now because they always bring up the different ones that I arrange and stuff. And all my friends from college still bring that up. But anyway, it was good. But I got published, and I sent a piece in, a little concert piece called I Dream Music. And it got published, and I had two other pieces published before I left college. And I went ding, 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 ding. I graduated with my degree in music education, but I went, are there other things I want to do? So that's what I did. My one thing that I don't know how I knew to do this at age 22, but I was afraid to get a full-time teaching job because I didn't want the paycheck. I was afraid that if I got a paycheck every week, I would never do anything else. And I wanted to do some other things in music, and I knew I could apply all of that to my teaching. If I ever got a full-time teaching job one day, I would think, oh, I'll do that. So what I did, I've never had a job other than music. I cannot believe I'm saying that. I've never waited tables. Nothing bad about this, but I've always had music. I kept writing. I did choreography. I went everywhere. This is the 80s. I did choreography for show choir after show choir. Talk about learning discipline and how to work with kids. I did anything like that. I taught voice. I taught piano. I worked with the music teachers where I lived in Indiana. They let me work with them, and I worked with their choirs. And those principals were begging me if they could hire me to teach. And I was like, no, 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 don't do it. And I did studio work. You don't really audition for that, but I would go to studios. I remember I went to Studio Green. I walked in and I said, hey, I want to sing jingles. And they go, well, have you ever done it before? No. Well, can you write them? And I went, sure. They go, okay, write a jingle. We've got this client coming in about a doll. The doll was called Tugabos. And write a jingle. I had no idea what I was doing. I wrote the jingle. They recorded it. It actually got to the client. I thought it was pretty good. And I knew then I didn't want to write them, although I do actually, but I didn't want to write them, but I love singing them. So I've done tons of that work. I sang backup, everything I was doing, but at the same time, I was getting published and I was conducting more and more and more. And eventually I became an editor with Shawnee Press. And that's a story in and of itself. But I just kept doing this, and it's always been music education, just a different road.
Yep. Well, it sounds like you have had quite a journey that's just been like from your gut and from your heart, which is exactly why musicians are great when they're great, and that's why you're here. I want to know about your Sandi Patty work because I'm obsessed with her.
Well, boy, if you don't know who she is, look her up. She is an amazing Grammy Dove award-winning. She was called The Voice. She lived near where I was living in Indiana. I moved out there. It was very gospel big. AU with Anderson University College was there. She went to that. I moved there in the 80s, right after she hit it gigantic. And I didn't know she lived there. I didn't know the Gaithers lived there. I didn't know any of this gospel stuff was there, but I knew who she was. And that's another story, just knowing to move out there, why that was. But anyway, eventually I worked with everybody that worked with her, but I didn't know her. And I remember one time at a concert, I'd written a song and I threw it up on stage. I mean, I would do whatever. So anyway, eventually she reached out to me through these other people that I worked with forever because they knew me and they were looking for another backup singer to go out on tour. And she goes, "Hey, you know, you've already been doing that, and Amy says it's great, and you know, would you do it?" And I said, my first question was, "Well, what do you want me to do?" And she said, "Well, what have you been?" Had been working with another artist named Ray Boltz, who is a Dove Award winner gospel singer. And I go, "Well, I played keyboards, I sang backup, I took care of the product, I loaded and unloaded equipment, I slept in a truck, and I was his personal assistant on the road." And she just stared at me and she went, "Oh no, you just sing with me." So talk about how to learn about music. Oh my gosh. We learned so much with her. Oh, she, in the middle of the concert, she'd do these little signs to all the backup singers. And that meant invert the chord. So we would invert our vocals up and then she'd go, and we just get higher and higher. And we did all kinds of things like that. And she has ears like nobody.
She loves a good modulation. Like she loves a good modulation.
Yeah, not so much anymore. Nobody wants that modulation anymore. But yeah, it was just amazing. Back when her voice, she never warmed up. Her dad was an amazing singer. One of her brothers was better than she is. Just amazing. And she used to just go to the concert and sing and do a 3-hour concert and she's warmed up. All right, let's keep going. She built to sing. Amazing.
You know, I loved her too. I think we're in the same age group, and I sang something of hers in like a Busch Gardens talent show when I was performing at Busch Gardens. So yeah, I mean, she's epic. And if you don't know her, that voice is amazing. I want to know who your mentors were.
Yeah, I remember in college about when I wanted to write and arrange, I had been given this cassette tape. I don't know how I got it, but I had a cassette tape from the University of Missouri. It was their concert choir, and it was all Mark Hayes arrangements. And I put that in and listened to it. I think I still have it. I transferred it. And I went, oh, because I love choral music. I just love harmonies. I sang all the backup to the Partridge Family. I mean, that's what I gravitated to, harmonies, the Eagles, all of that. I loved harmony, and I listened to that, and I was like, I want to do that. I can do that. I want to do that. And he was a big influence. And I remember one of the things that he told me once, he said, "Get it on paper the way you want to see it in print. Don't leave it to the editor because it might not happen. You write what you think it ought to be when you send it to your editor." And I've always done that. And I've tried to tell other writers, get it on paper. Let me see what you really want to do.
Yeah, I'm curious tonight if there are other people who want to do what you're doing, because I don't have that gift that you've got. And I want to make sure that we get questions about that and that people get those answered if that's what they want to do, so that in the future we can have great people writing stuff for our students like you're doing. So what are some of your experiences as a conductor? Like, tell us one of your best ones, maybe one of your worst ones.
Yeah, the worst ones. I know exactly the worst one.
No.
There's so many. Most of them are all good. I mean, when I was younger, they were a little weirder, and weird places, and I lately it's been amazing things. Like, I just got back from New York at Carnegie Hall. I had 200 middle schoolers. They were amazing. They were wonderful. They were serious as a heart attack. They didn't act up. They didn't laugh. They were just like ready to
Good for
sing.
you.
Yeah, I had to teach them how to have joy with their music, and but that was really wonderful. But I've had, moments. I've had wonderful moments in gyms. I was in a gym here in Indiana. They make them big here, and I remember there were 500 recorders on one end. It seated 10,000. 500 recorders over here. There was a group here in front of me that was the choir. There was percussionists over here that they played hand percussion. All the kids, they were all kids. And there was a special needs choir, and they did American Sign Language. And that was amazing to me. I mean, just hearing all of that and seeing all the different things, those are moments I always remember. And just being in really neat places, always, that's neat. When you go international, you don't know what to expect, and then you're like standing, or at the Ryman Auditorium, I had a whole bunch of adults there, and I'm standing there and I take it all in. I got there early, I sat and I looked. I'm always taking in my wherever I am, and I tell kids that, like at Carnegie, I give them a moment to look around them. They don't have their cameras, so take it in, remember this, look at where you are. And I do that almost everywhere that I conduct. One of my bad ones was just a bad host that I got there, and that particular person decided they didn't like me to be there because they discovered they liked conducting. It was a very odd thing. I remember at the end of the day, I mean, the kids, like at one point, I loved my accompanist. She had big old hair. I'm going to tell you where I was, but I was near home. She had big old hair. She was a retired music teacher, and she's just sitting there, and these kids are nuts. And she just kept looking at me. And eventually I was stopping them to rehearse, and they'd go, "Stop! Why are you stopping us?" Yeah. And they all started yelling about why we were stopping. And I was just blinking. And I went, "Sit down." That's when my mother, comes in, and they sat down. I said, "I don't know who you are." And I turned around. There was nobody in the room with me. It was an auditorium. I turned around. There was a janitor in the back, and he went, and the teacher just looked at me and went disapproving. Mm-hmm.
Nice.
But I remember I went right before the concert. I went in the bathroom, and I sat on the floor and went, "I'm a failure. I'm a failure. I didn't have enough tools in my toolbox. What's wrong with me?" I called friends, and I had called teacher friends, like, "Ah." So I went out there, and this was her first words when she introduced me. I came to find out it had nothing to do with me later. Nothing to do with me. It was something else going on in her life. But she said to everybody, "Well, we've had quite an awful day today." That's what she said to the audience.
And you were the guest? You were the guest?
I was the guest.
You were
And then
conducting?
my introduction was simply this: "Well, here's Greg Gilpin."
Wow. How old
Well,
were you?
it had nothing to do with me, nothing.
course.
But here's the deal. The next day, I'm reading a manuscript of Tim Selig's called The Perfect Blend and The Perfect Rehearsal. We were getting those books in print, and I went, "This is exactly what I need." I just, as an editor and as a teacher and educator, I went, "Oh my gosh, I wish I'd had this one day earlier, So anyway, I just learned, get your tools. Get your tools. What tools do you need to take care of this,
Absolutely. That's awesome. And thanks for sharing the realness, because, we've all had it. I mean,
Oh my gosh.
Sure. All right. So I want to talk about warm-ups for a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah, go.
Is anybody afraid of warm-ups?
Well, I'm not like I'll tell you a little. You are. Yeah, I'll tell you. For me, I like a cappella warm ups, and anybody who
Hmm.
followed my work knows that because I like to connect to the kids.
Yeah.
And I like them to listen. I want them to hear, and I want them, just learning over the time to listen. And even when I'm doing like honors choirs and all state things, now I don't touch the piano. I just get the pitch and whatever, and I'm just doing things so that they can gel. It's different. Like doing all state and honors choir is different than everyday work, the way I did for 30 years, right? Because you have to go in and help this group gel really
Yeah.
quickly. So I'm using those acapella warm-ups more than ever. But talk about your warm-ups that you are doing and that work for you.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, when you work with a group like, this weekend, the last weekend I had, they've never sung together. So when they make that first sound, they're like, "Huh? What is this?" Some of them have never been in a choir bigger than 20 people. This is all new. So I approach this. Listen, warming up is not my favorite thing to do. Now, I've learned to enjoy it more because I prepare for it. And when I prepare for it, I enjoy it. When I go in there thinking, I'll just do some warm ups, I don't enjoy it. It doesn't go well. I really prepare to do it. And what I discovered is less is more. You need to be really focused. I remember I had it was an all-state elementary choir in Georgia a long time ago. And I went in and there were all the teachers and I really did. I didn't want to, I just thought I needed help with warming up. But the other thing is I wanted to hear the choir without my nerves of trying to figure out warm-ups that are entertaining. I see all these other directors doing these funny warm-ups and all this stuff. And I'm going, I don't, okay, that's great. I don't know what that means, what that's for. I asked every teacher in that room and everyone said no. Uh-uh. No, 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 I don't want to do that. And one woman actually didn't even say anything. She shook her head and backed out of the room. And I went, okay, so I did it, and I am so glad I did because it connected me with my choir. Really, really important. It's your first connection, whether it's in the morning with your kids, whether it's in the afternoon, but get them engaged immediately. And here's the other thing. If you've got that one kid that's always late, let them be late. You start on time, and eventually when they find out you're not holding up the class for them, they will probably start showing up on time. You're like, the 1% messes up the 99% all the time. At least it used to with me. I would get obsessed with that little 1%. Why aren't you in here on time? Why aren't you here on time? You're missing out. No, okay, bye. See ya. Okay, you're 5 minutes late. I don't care. We're 5 minutes in. You've missed out.
Yeah, you're right.
I
And
would do that. Yeah.
that first sound that they make together is critical. It's so
Yes.
personal. It's like it comes out of your body. It's like it's so personal. And I went to Durham to do an honors choir a few weeks ago, and they hadn't done much since the pandemic. It was a local city thing, so it was not like they had done their best to prepare.
Yeah.
And I'm newer at this sort of thing, doing these types of events, but I've realized really quickly that you have to go fast, right?
Yeah.
You have to listen to them quickly, make decisions quickly. If you've chosen 6 songs and they're ready with 4, you're going to cut. And you're going to get the help of the teachers around you, and say, okay, we need a sectional here. And that's what I did in Durham, and they did magical stuff by the end. But like seriously, it was like, I don't know, 36 hours later, and I was scared to death. I know you've done way more of that, but I wanted them to have, and especially now, more, as we rebuild, I wanted to make sure that they had a positive experience, and
Always.
but it's different, and you've done it for
Always.
so long. So,
My rule is you sing with joy. I was a part of a concert once where there was a really, really good director after me with a big high school group, twice the size as my middle school group. And I was worried about my middle school group. We're not perfect. Oh my gosh. They did a great job. you know what I noticed when I watched the high school group, and they were fantastic? There was no joy, no joy whatsoever. And my middle schoolers sang with joy. They were musical. It wasn't perfect. And my rule is always, no matter what, by the time we get to the concert, you are going to be joyous. We're going to enjoy what we've learned. It may not be perfect, but we're going to do what we've learned and how we did it. And I will accept whatever happens as long as you're joyful and you're doing your best.
Thank you so much for saying that, like seriously, because I think so many people get caught up in that perfection thing. And
It's 30 minutes.
I
Where was
know,
all the work? 3 months of rehearsal.
right? And the
That's where
feeling,
they learn.
yeah, and well, and then the performances definitely change the students, especially middle school kids, and especially now, like when they get to finally experience a magical, real performance that feels the way that we know it should feel, and that we've
Yeah.
all tried to drive. I think we just have to work hard to get them to understand the meanings of the songs, because I've seen so many robotic performances, middle
Yeah.
school and high school, they're just
They don't
robotic.
know what the lyrics are. They don't even understand what they're singing.
Yeah.
Yes, always ask, do you hear the difference? When you're doing something and you hear like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. That's amazing. And I'll go, oh my gosh, that's amazing. And I'll go, do you hear the difference? And they'll be like, yeah. And then I'll even go, what do you hear that's different? And let them communicate with you about that. Because, and if they say, if there's deadpan and they're like, do it again, do it again. And I want you to hear the difference. And I always get them engaged with that. I want them listening.
I did in Durham. I did the song Roger Emerson wrote from. He arranged from Rent. I can't think of the name right now; it's escaped me. But it was one of the songs from the show Rent. And those students didn't know anything about Rent or where it came from or what it was, and No Day But Today, and it's just freaking magical when they, I'm sharing my personal experience with them about what
Yeah.
that was like for the
Yeah.
people, my community, and I mean they just brought it. But I think if we help them understand and we give them permission not to just stand still and be still and to feel,
Yeah.
one of my favorite quotes is, "People forget what you say, they forget what you do, but they don't forget how you make them feel."
Oh, absolutely.
Maya Angelou,
Absolutely.
right? And that's really what we have to get them to do. And we get so caught up in perfection, and perfection is perfection, but it's not art.
Yeah, you have to figure out what that perfection is, especially with middle school. Perfection, it's like your level of success. What is going to be success with this choir? I've had some, like success will be if they will end a note when I cut them off. That is going to be success for me at this concert. Things like that. Here's another little thing I've learned recently is and this is from taking an exercise class. I ask them a question and they all have to answer it very quickly all the way through the choir. I take a few minutes. Now, if you've got 30-minute rehearsal, you may not be able to do this or do it one time a month, whatever. But when I have these, 3-hour events, I will ask, here's one of the questions. One of them they really loved was, what is one thing that you like about yourself? Ooh, that was a hard one for many of them, but they had to answer it. And then another one was, if you had the choice, would you eat completely burnt food or a stranger's leftovers? So this was a high school group. Guess what 99% of them said? A stranger's leftovers. It was disgusting. So one of the kids went up and they go, you do know we do that at lunch every day. We just eat everybody's food. I go, oh my gosh. So it's so fun. But I had several people then tell their teachers saying he took a moment to get to know us.
It's so important to get to know them. It's so
Yeah.
important that they know that you are watching them knowing them and trying to know them. I mean, I had classes of 84, and it's really hard to get to know them.
Mm.
But I would at the door. They would walk in the door, and I had this thing on the wall that's very old school, and it had all these pictures of different faces, like cartoon faces, happy, sad, blah blah. Like who, and I would say, "Who are you today?" Right? Like who are you? Kids that would never talk,
But they'll
ever,
do that.
and
Yeah.
they would look at it and go, and I was like, "Okay, all right. So do you want to talk? You want to share why?" And, nope. Or
Nope.
yes, and they would, or whatever. But that's middle school. They
Yeah,
you've
that's
got to
good.
connect
That
with
would be
them.
good at all age levels because you're
Yeah.
dealing with introverts. Listen, when I grew up in high school and junior high, I wore a park. I played for all the choirs. I was in the musical. I had friends, but I was bullied and I was an introvert. And I wore a parka with the hat up all day long. I accompanied with that on. I walked from class to class. It protected me. It had pockets. Weird, just little weird things like that. Pay attention to your kids and who's in there and how they are. But yeah, and let them get to know each other. They really need to get to know each other.
Yeah, that teamwork stuff and getting to know each other is extra important now, like as we continue to
Yes.
rebuild. I mean, it's critical. So, Alden, I want to check because we've been talking like nonstop.
Okay.
How's the chat doing? Do we have some questions yet?
Pretty good. Mainly strategies.
Okay, can you share one and let's get to that because
Yeah.
it's supposed to be Ask Mr. D and Greg Gilpin. And I mean, it's great. It's wonderful, Greg. We're hitting
So
it.
you mean like for the warm up?
I
Like
think
for warming up or
And
what kind of
anybody, if whoever asks that wants to come on and ask it on camera or off camera, it's fine. I just want to make sure that we get to those things. And if, yeah.
Emily said I keep trying to incorporate more movement into my warm-ups so they feel like movement while singing is second nature. But I think I was only so successful this past year.
Okay. Yeah, it depends on what the movement is. I mean, I do movement that's not rhythmic, but gets their arms up. When I'm breathing, they are breathing with their arms. I do lots of stretching that gets their body moving and they feel it. We bend at the knees. We do lots of things like that. And then I might include a little rhythm or just rhythm things, anything like that to get them moving where maybe it's if they feel like they're dancing, they may not want to do that. So give the movement purpose for what you need it to be. Like, if I need to do amen, 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 bring in a syllable back. I do anything like this. I do vowels, ooh, oh, eh, ah. I have all of these things. I get them moving to where they're not just like this all the time until I say, hey, let's add some movement and dance. Well, they haven't moved a muscle yet. So,
Yeah. The teacher that I'm featuring next month, that you'll find out later who that is, her choirs are comfortable moving, and I'm going to be really interested to ask her what she does to help them. I mean,
yeah.
they're not doing choreography, but they're comfortable just moving, and I can't wait to.
Do music, even gospel style or anything where maybe, or multicultural especially, show them videos of different choirs performing, but realize that they don't have to be like this. They can move around. St. Olaf, they hold hands when they perform and they move. So even that, even though it might feel weird, eventually, maybe by the end of the year,
Yeah.
that they're more comfortable going, look, you are a singer and we move. I always bring up about when I do studio work, everybody in that studio is moving. We're singing with our arms and moving our bodies to get what we need. And so any example of that, there's so much online that you could show.
You know, in the gospel arena, it's natural for them to move, right?
Yeah.
And their singing is so powerful. I mean, a lot of times I hear from teachers who say, "I can't get energy out of the kids," and this sort of thing, which I totally get. But you know, incorporating that movement in a natural way for all the students, or giving them permission to not stand still, I think is really important for us to do. Not necessarily choreography or whatever. Alden,
Yeah.
are there any other things in the chat that we need to?
Yes, there
Yep.
is a really good question. Ruth just asked. I love your arrangements of folk songs. What are your thoughts about some of them having a history of being minstrel songs? Are they
Yeah.
okay for us to program? The part writing you do is just fantastic.
Yeah, I there has been lots of discussion even now about that. You know, right at the pandemic, in June of the pandemic, basically, was when everything hit the fan, and there has been a lot of backpedaling now of people that were saying this is a racist song. This is a racist song. It was used in minstrel shows. This is a racist song. Now they're backpedaling, going, wait a minute, we don't know the full history here. We don't. So be aware, and I'm not an expert, be aware that there is music that, yes, was used in minstrel shows, was not written for minstrel shows. They used them because they were popular, and not they're now, not all were like that, but they don't have the meaning behind their writing the way they were used. So it's very complicated. There's been a lot of music that has been kind of erased and that we can't arrange anymore. But I have learned from other people that are very knowledgeable of folk songs, and they are very upset over this because a lot of people have made decisions that don't know the history of the folk songs. So just do your own work, and if it still feels uncomfortable, then don't do it. I agree. I love arranging folk songs. I like rhythm. I love doing rhythmic things with the folk songs.
And you're so
There were
good
a
at it.
lot of dance things, the circle dances and all that. And then they got attached to all of that. And honestly, I've reached out to people that are knowledgeable about this, and they said, we have gotten in so much trouble trying to explain the history that we are letting it go. And I think that's so sad. We're losing a lot of history that's, I think, a little false, but not all. I know there are pieces going, wow, no, that was bad. Or it is known that the writer was very racist, and those are not touched at all. It's like, forget it. You were not a good person. I don't care what you wrote. Not a
Yeah.
good person. And there's some of that.
Yeah, it's a really tricky moment,
It's
and I know
hard.
you've arranged so many things throughout your career, and I love all of it. But I get the position that you're in at the moment. Alden, any other things in the chat? And
Yes. Alicia just asked a really good one. Greg, how do you teach students to sing harmony? Like in a day, i.e. one day middle school sight reading festival?
Hmm.
And then what is your favorite SAB song for a festival like this that you wrote?
Oh dear. Okay. Oh, there's so many SABs. I think I think probably every teacher here is probably going to say the same thing I do. Rounds are really, really great ways to begin that. And
partner
any
songs, right?
partner songs, of course. Anything that feels like they've got a melody, even though it may be harmony. Dona Nobis Panchev, you know how it partners, but it also is a harmony as you do the next part. Those would be things that I would do. I would also do unison, and I would find unison pieces that I could add at the end or in certain places on my own. Harmony. One last note that those kids can hear the harmony at the end. You could do a unison song, and you decide, hey, these kids can handle some harmony. I could add a note here, a note here, a note here, and do that. And I did a piece called Dance While the Music Sings to You. It's one of my favorite pieces I've ever done. It's completely unison. It's colla voce, and not a whole lot of people know about it. But it's such a beautiful piece. It's all unison. And then you're easily could, depending on your choir, you got one day, you don't know what you got. You could easily add some harmony there. I hope that answers it a little bit. SAB, oh my goodness. I would do, again, anything. Here's an example. I have Little Wheel of Turnin', which is Ezekiel saw the wheel. 3 different melodies happening. Guys are little wheel a turning, turning, little wheel a turning. And then there's a moment where is homophonic writing, but if they can't do it, sing the melody. Everybody go to the melody and then go back to your individual parts on those choruses.
So Greg, that's what you're so good at. Like your arrangements are so accessible for, I mean, I taught beginners. I mean, I didn't audition my kids. I had just beginners, and I was looking for work that they liked to learn, that I liked to teach, that was accessible for them. I mean, you know, it's one thing to teach that, and it's another thing to go to an all-state event, right? It's a completely different experience.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
your music, it can be done at both, right? But you have some that can be done at both. But it's really important for people teachers to not feel the pressure to do extra hard, extra difficult stuff. Unison is beautiful when you get the vowels aligned and you get the
if they can't sing unison, they can't sing harmony.
100%. Yeah.
You know, nobody wants to hear horrible harmony if they can't even do a beautiful unison.
Right.
And there's lots of high school groups that can't do a beautiful unison.
Yes.
So really important. And believe me, when I'm writing, I'm imagining, how would I teach this? Would the altos love rehearsing this for the next month? Would the guys enjoy this text? You know, nobody wants to sing ooh for 3 minutes while the sopranos have the melody, or it's a solo with. I won't publish those things either. I will always go to the writer going, I'm not going to want to teach an ooh. Oh my gosh, my kids, if I had kids for an hour, they'd be jumping off and the walls because they have nothing to do. So I'm always imagining what would make the rehearsal fun, and why would they have fun doing this? What makes it fun for me, you know, as a singer?
All right, so thank you, Greg. So Alden, anything else in there that we need to jump on? I want to open up the floor to people who want to be on camera.
Yeah, got one from Emily. Greg, do you have any fun games or warm-ups you like that incorporate solfege? Also,
Yeah,
what is
the
your
one,
favorite
the one
beginning?
the one I do. I learned from Christy. I mean, I'd heard it done, but then Carrie Miller, she was in doing something, and I was watching her and I went, oh my gosh, why don't I use that all the time? That is just so much fun. And a lot of kids know it, but then don't. They don't know what you're going to do with. But it's simple. It's the simple do, re, mi, re, do. Go all the way up.
Love that one.
Go all the way down, and then leave me off. Do, re, do, re, do, re, fa. Re, do, re, fa, so, fa, re, do. And I do that, and they have to sit down if they say me, and then you're left with the one, person like that. That's really a quick one that everybody loves doing, and it gets them thinking. I would do anything in minor. If you can do minor, you need to do more minor, and you need to not, whatever your warm-up is, get away from half steps. Those kids need to jump in here, go up a fourth to the next chord, because they got to figure out where do is there. I can tell when kids don't do that. And I can go up a fourth and they'll go up a half step. They're just auto pilot with it.
Yeah.
No, we go half step.
Get behind that piano and,
yes.
and they're not.
And don't play it with them. Give them the chord and then let them sing.
Yeah.
Give them the chord, let them sing. Yeah.
So Emily had one more.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm trying to keep your time here.
No, it's fine.
So Emily had one more question. What are your favorite beginning tenor bass songs?
Oh my goodness. Well, I think you should. Where is it? I think Anything in these Let the Men Sing books is a great beginning TB song. I'm not going to do product here, but I've got lots of TB things that work really, really well. And some of them are a cappella, others have accompaniments, but they're very concert driven. And I would always look up maybe the most current little pop song that would be easy. And another publisher that has really good TB things is Bry Lee. I think Bry Lee, Denise does a really good job respecting what the original owner of Bry Lee had in mind. And I would research that catalog as well.
I love doing a cappella TB stuff because you can change the key, right? Like whatever you got to do to fit that group in front of you.
Yeah.
It's something easy and short, but lovely or whatever, rhythmic or beautiful or lyrical.
Yeah.
Because you know that every year it's going to be different in your classroom.
Keep your lamps trimmed and burning. My arrangement, Annie voicing, do it. They will, your kids are going to love it. It's so much fun and rhythmic and easy and interesting. And there's a TB of it. There's SA, there's SATB. That's a really good title, even though it's mine. I have a lot of success with that, and I know other people have had success with it.
Yeah. So Ray Robinson has a job interview on Monday. If he gets the job, he would be building a middle school program from the ground up. The AP asked him to be prepared with any ideas for building the program. He's planning to discuss the classes he would like to teach. He or she, I'm not sure, Ray, with this name, course objectives, etc. Do you have any advice for building a new program and things to think about when answering the question? So I want to start with this. So I've written a lot about building and rebuilding programs on my blog. So check that out. Just go to the blog and type in building or rebuilding, and also just email me. I have a presentation that I have not published that is about rebuilding your program. It's a video of me doing it. I'll send you the PowerPoint. So just email me in the middle of mrd@gmail.com. I started focusing on rebuilding in January 21 because I had not retired yet, and I was like, let's go. So what are your thoughts, Greg?
Well, I would write down all my, a big laundry list of what you would like to achieve. You're not going to probably do it all, but I would at least begin thinking, oh, what is my program? What is the main goal? Whatever that might be, you have to look at your community. And you may go, look, I have different objectives for every year, but building my program, the first thing maybe I want to build more male singers. Look at the choir and go, you don't have any men in this choir. I want to build that. I want to have a men's choir. I want to work on multicultural. To me, I think I would approach it at least at the beginning. Make your list of what I want to do, and then just basic ideas of how you think you can do that, and maybe give an example of what your class time would be, right? Like, so they know what you're going to do and how you're going to do it and how you're going to get those goals in whatever time period. I may be way off base here, but I'm always the person just, what are my big laundry list? And then what do I think are the most important? Prioritize it. And let me tell you, your first year may be just, I want to get more guys involved with this.
Right. Yeah, you have to have a vision for what you want for your program, and then you have to be so focused on that vision that when you wake up every day, that's what you're working towards, and that's going to help you make the decisions you need to make, the people you need to talk to in your building to help that happen. You have to pick the songs. Like, I know my first year at Henderson, which is where I spent the last 20 years, I had a large African-American population and boys that were African-American, and I wanted to feature them, and I wanted more boys. So I did My Girl, and I put them in some canes and, a very cute jacket, and they were superstars, and their parents loved it, and they loved it, and they felt great. And then that just that's what emanates from what you're doing and helps you get what you're looking for. So I see I'm rebuilding a college program and have students who have no literacy foundation or choral background. What are efficient and engaging ways for incorporating theory?
Oh, music. Oh man, there's so many music theory products out there. I think there's a bunch online that I'm not aware of, but when I go to conferences and I look at it all, I guess it could be overwhelming, but oh my goodness, Alfred, I know, has a music theory course that it's very basic, which I think that's what you need. It doesn't look elementary. It is basic music theory that you can then keep building on. If they've never had any, they're not going to know anything. They're not going to know treble clef. I mean, you just have to begin really early on and never let them think that that's elementary, that this is very serious. Let me tell you, there are writers that are adults that have been writing for 30 years. I had a writer tell me they didn't realize tenor was in tenor clef.
No.
So we're all there. I
Yeah.
mean, so just approach that way. Alfred, I know, and I think Hal Leonard has incredible music things. I'm just thinking Alfred, I can see it in my head that I know it. I've looked at it and it's just like real good basic worksheets and things like that to keep him busy. I want to say one thing on your building your program. Yeah. And I think we all every day as you're driving to school, you've got to get your mind right with what's going on. You can't let Tanya or Billy rule your day if they are trouble. But here's the deal, and you might even share this when you're in your interview, is that the question you're going to ask every day of yourself is not going to be, what am I going to teach today? The question is, what are they going to learn today? And it may be a day where they don't learn any music, but it's about being a human being.
Yeah, that's true. That's
so
awesome.
Just always approach it with the kid in mind and not as much you in mind. And it really makes you think about everything you do.
Oh yeah. I mean, there were so many experiences in my career when I had to do what you just said. Like I had a plan, some sort of lesson plan, but something happened in the world or something happened in our school that I just knew I had to. They're not singing today. I mean, that's not, it's just, or they're going to sing, but because of that, and it's going to help inspire them to sing from their heart, which is what we're always trying to do. So I see from one of I'm not sure the name here, it says LSH over. She wants to recruit more guys. And I want you to email me. I have a presentation on that as well. I'll send it to you in email in the middle with mrd@gmail.com. Basically, you have to be centered on the boys. You have to find the leaders. You have to help those leaders be leading and be inspiring to the others. There's so many things in this presentation that I would like you to have.
Yeah. Find the big dogs.
Yeah.
Find the football player. Look who the big dog is in the hallway and all his little puppies around him. And then you go to that big dog and go, I need you. Yeah. I need you in my choir. When are you going to join my choir? And you bug them, you get them in there, you bug them to death, and eventually, and you know them by name, you name them by name. You go to a football game and go, man, dude, I saw you play the other night. That was, and they're like, what?
Yeah.
What?
And give them big moments in moments of performance. Like I did stuff from Newsies a lot, and they loved doing Newsies. They would like jump over each other and dance in crazy ways that
once they get attention, they get attention, even if they're dancing and all of a sudden they get attention, oh, they're the biggest hams. They're ready now. What are we going to do next show? What are we going to do next show? Yeah. But wherever the big dog goes, all those little dogs are going to follow.
Yep. Yeah, it's true, and I would love to send you that. And anybody in here who would like to do that, anybody here tonight that wants to ask something on camera, please do it because I want to wrap this up. I really appreciate Greg being here, but I don't want to go too
Yeah,
long.
Jay,
I don't
that's
want to
okay.
take anybody's time. I just there's one little thing I want to share before you guys go. We didn't do any videos of his, and there's one magical one I want to share because it's one of his biggest things that he's written that has affected a lot of people in all the good ways. So if anybody wants to go on camera, let's hit it.
Please, please
I'll wait a
ask.
minute. And if you have something, we'll wait more minutes. If there's a lot of people, just raise your hand.
Tell me your success story.
Yeah.
Whatever. I don't care.
Oh.
Would love to hear from you.
All right. All right. I see Ray. Do you want to be on camera or no? Do you want to ask in the chat?
Yeah, I'll just be on the audio.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Yeah, I'm just wondering for me, I'm interested in potentially arranging or composing music, and I was wondering how to get started doing that.
Mm-hmm. Do you know any notation like on finale or anything like that?
Oh yes, I'm used to using Sibelius.
Okay, great. That's very helpful. Now, you do not. I get lots of handwritten manuscripts that people, they're old school and they handwrite, and that's okay. But that is helpful. I would definitely, my first advice in getting published is know what that publisher publishes. I get a lot of weird music and they haven't even researched what we publish. And I can tell, I mean, it's an immediate like, no, we don't do kazoo, harp, and, solo voice, whatever it is. So really look at what they're selling. Look at what is being sold well. Like you can go to dealer websites. You can go to like Texas, go to their contest site, look up the music, and really just look at that and model it and make sure that you can make your music notation as correct as possible, because all of us editors want you to do as much as you can do correctly to make our editing job easier and quicker, and it makes the music more correct when it goes into print. So really research what you're writing, who you're writing for, and not just like, I love this piece and it's such a cool idea. I get a lot of original patriotic, and no teachers want to do original patriotic because they need to teach the patriotic and teach the kids our patriotic music already. It's like Christmas. You can do original winter, but everybody wants Jingle Bells. What are you going to do with Jingle Bells again this year? Because they want it. The audience has waited a whole year. So just do that, learn, and I would look at other people's arrangements and learn from those that I loved. I would listen to it and look at it and go, why is that so cool? And I would look at and I'd borrow ideas. Why not? Look at that and go, you know what? Kirby Shaw was the first guy I ever knew that did the stack vocal. The basses came in with their line, and then the tenors came in, and then the altos. Everybody did it after that, So, learn from other people as well, and then apply it, to your own work.
Greg, that's awesome. And I really appreciate your time tonight. And I want to share one of your most magical songs that people seem to love as I was like preparing for this. It's Why We Sing. And it was done in Singapore. And I know that for you, as I was preparing for this, having your music done around the world, is a dream, right?
Yeah, it's amazing. It's always a surprise. Sometimes I'll just go online to see where it's been done, and it's always shocking, that it is. So,
well, let's just go out listening to that. And when it's over, you guys, thank you for being here. Please come back in June for the Q&A if you need it. And in July for the very special, incredible teacher that I can't wait to share with you what she's doing. So I'm going to share my screen. I don't know what you're going to see on here because it's too busy.
Okay, there they are. Look at them. Aren't they precious? Oh.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yep. Let's go full screen here.
That works in a gym as well. You don't have to be in a beautiful hall like that.
I love it so much. Thank you all for coming tonight, and I hope to see you next time that we do it.
Teach your kids to be good human beings. That's what you
Absolutely.
need to do.
Thank you so much, Greg.
Thank you. This is an honor. It was so good to see all of you. Find me online.
Yep. Thank you, Greg. All right, you guys, take care. Next time. Thank you, Alden.
Yes, you're welcome. Do I need to do anything with the recording? Or is it
No,
okay.
I think when I end it, it will just show up in my
Okay.
feed, and then we can
Cool.
share it. Yeah.
Cool. That was so good.
Yeah, it was great. He was super, and I was super nervous. So
When is the July? When is the July one you said?
and make sure is the recording off?
No, yeah.
Yeah, let's get that off.
There we go.
You grab that.
Yeah. There